Okay, I'm going to show the functionality Auto QC and Manual QC. QC stands for quality control. Basically, the user has two work lists. When he goes to Auto QC work list, he will get a list of all of the products that are in his queue so that he has to work and fix, right? So basically, this is the first screen where there is some functionality like search or description, search on description, clear, refresh list, etc. And there is this action button called bypass, right? But if you click on one of these uh, products, these are product lines, you go to the next item detail screen, which has one component called the product hierarchy, which are actually two lines of that product. So you see one is green and one is red. This basically tells us that the green line is has passed validations, but the bottom line, the each, has um, some errors in it, right? So that's the first box is the product hierarchy. So it has to be like a node where you can open and close, and it could have another level down here. And here is a box that's actually going to tell us what the error message is when we click on the lines that have an error, right? And here there's just some data to it. The most important thing here is that right now the cursor is on the first line. So this first line, this is the data representing that product, right? And the user should be able to see the current value. So that's the value that is accepted. And sometimes there is a previous value, and that is when that product already existed in the system, right? So it's like a comparison. So this will also have values or can have values. The functionality is right now it's filtered in show all. So it's showing all of the fields in our table. And you can also do show difference, which will only show those lines that are not the same. So the lines that are in error. Okay. So the important thing here is that it's going to have two columns with values, right? In this example, it doesn't have it because it's a test environment, right? And then there's this another component here that is just some data extracted from here, right? So this is another container. Now, the most important thing here is that, of course, there's this functionality of move product to manual QC. This is just a button. We need to leave that button as is. And when we press that button, we will have some functionality to it, which will just basically take us back to the previous um, item list. The important thing here is that I can toggle from this level to this level. You see that when I press on the case, this is the data and this is the data for this line. And when I go on the each, this has changed. You see the values have changed because when I click here, I'm looking at the data for that product. And when I click here, I'm looking at the data for that product. And you see, as you see here, this one is an error, has an error. That's why it's red. When I click on it, I see what the error message is. You see? And that is all the functionality that we need on that screen. That is the Auto QC, right? Now, the next functionality on the next screen is the Manual QC. And the Manual QC is actually the same, but the view is a little bit different because the work list is filtered by companies, right? But if you look at, you choose this company, you have absolutely the same values. So in principle, we could actually have the same screen and have it just like this, like filtered by companies. I think that would probably be the best way so that you can use the same screen. The only thing is that with manual QC, you do not bypass, you have the button that is accept, right? And you also have like a bulk action, which is accept all items. So you can select these, right? And then say accept selected items. But okay, if you click on the product, then you go to the details screen, which is, I don't know why it's not going there. There it goes. Is it's actually the same as the other detailed screen. It has the hierarchy here. You see two errors here, and you see some um, error messages here, right? Just like the other one. And this is also the same columns. They have a little bit of different name, but they have the same columns. The only thing is that um, here you have an extra pane telling some extra information for the manual QC, right? Which this is to say that it has already, this item has been published to this company. And sometimes it will be there and sometimes it will not be there. So we need to put this, I would put this just like the one in the AutoQC, and this information about if it's been published to somebody or not, could probably put it somewhere else, right? But the functionality is absolutely the same. The only thing is then that you have these two um, buttons, accept publication, reject publication. When you do reject publication, you get a pop-up where you're going to type in a message why you reject that. But we can leave that for later. If you have time, you can make that screen. Um, but basically is to say you write something here, you know, everything fails, and you add a you can add a message, right? You can press these buttons that we can program. You can have like these two programs, and then OK, right? So this is a very simple screen. If you don't have time to do that, then we don't do it. But we can let guys in India do it or whatever. But the main thing is to do that functionality, which is the auto QC and the manual QC